Well, I'm very happy to be with you here today. And my job is, as Alex has said, you've worked so hard to write a paper. This is going to be your Nobel Prize winning paper. You are sure that everybody's going to love it. It gets reviewed. You wait for the 4 to 6 weeks it takes, and you get the reviews, and they didn't love it. And so what I'm going to do is tell you, after you have a good cry, what you do next. I don't have any conflicts, only that, A, I've been in that position many times. I can't believe it. I also will tell you there is not a single person I have ever met who won't tell you a paper that should have been accepted. And everyone has one paper that they struggled to get accepted somewhere and they could not get it accepted. So it is so true. Now, I work for the American Heart Association. We have 14 journals. And the American Heart Association spends a lot of time on early career development. So I wanted to make sure you knew that we have a lot of resources, in addition to the unbelievable lectures you've had today, resources about how to do a review, how to write an abstract, and there's actually a whole early career collection, which you'll see if you go to www.ahajournals.org. And you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the early career resources as well as a variety of other collections, just so you know. That was a little paid political announcement, but there you go. So try to keep a few things in mind as you get your review. This is not personal, usually. It is not personal. Don't take it personally. They don't hate you. They don't think you're an idiot. This is their job, to review the paper. Everyone gets reviewers' comments. It's not just about you. This happens to everyone. Most reviewers truly are trying to be helpful. They want you to succeed. You may get your paper rejected, and you read the reviews, and they're good. But your paper just did not make the cut for the journal. So I'm sure the Lancet, what do you take, 5%, 6%? 3%. 3%. So if you submit to the Lancet, you're not going to get accepted, period. Yeah, right, yeah. So don't, if you aim high, that's fine. We have a saying, you can soar like an eagle, but you'll get shot at like a duck. So you will crash sometimes. Start your answers to the reviewers after you have calmed down. Really, you can write down what you're going to say, put the paper, we used to put the paper in the drawer. Now, put it in your computer and don't come to it for a while until you've calmed down. Don't write a letter when you're upset. I mean this, it's true. I'm going to quote one paper that's on the resources for early career. There are many papers like this. This one was published last year in Stroke that has the title, Write with the Reviewers in Mind, Why You Got a Rejection and How to Avoid the Next. It's a great paper, by the way, but there are many good papers like this. And what they say is expert reviewers are typically researchers with similar research focus and experience with the authors. They're chosen as experts for your paper. But they're human beings, and they have their own preferences. And some could be easily upset by small mistakes and lack of detail. So they're going to say that in their review. Don't take it personally. They're human beings, and they don't like certain things. There is a checklist in this article, which you can't read because it's long, but it's really worthwhile getting a checklist like this and checking. So for instance, it says many of the things you heard from Professor Spencer. Make sure that you don't use abbreviations. Make sure you add up all the columns and they equal the right number. And it has a long, long checklist, but it's worthwhile following this. And then you've heard this from Professor Sliwa, you've heard it from Professor Spencer. It's keep it simple and straightforward. And in my country, we call that KISS. Keep it simple and straightforward. Don't try to get complicated. Now, here is the art of responding to reviewers. Whenever acceptable, do what the reviewers say. Remove any extraneous material that the expert reviewers did not like, and clarify everything. If you choose to ignore them, your paper will be ignored. So it's not the way you would have done it. You wrote it one way, and they want you to write it another way. That's what you have to do. Because they said so, and there were the reviewers. When you're a reviewer, you get to have your little idiosyncrasies. But right now, you want your paper published. So be meticulous in your response, because it demonstrates respect and professionalism. You want them to take you seriously. You have to respond seriously and like a professional. So your response should include a cover letter with details. You should have a manuscript with your changes visible, and then you have a clean manuscript. So 3 things you owe them. You begin by thanking the reviewers. You may think this is just, but it's not. You say thank you, because they took time out of their busy schedules to read your paper. And you say, I appreciate the time you took to give these suggestions. It will undoubtedly strengthen my paper. Because, by the way, it will. Organize your response by reviewers. Even if they said the same things, you treat each reviewer separately. So there are 3 parts to each comment of the reviewers. 1, you write the reviewer's comment verbatim. 2, you explain explanation how you have edited your manuscript. And 3, an excerpt of your manuscript showing how it was changed. Here's an example. Reviewer number 1. The total number of patients do not add up in paragraph 22, page 4. Thank you, and you put different fonts so it's easy to read. Thank you for your careful reading of our manuscript. We were not clear in describing our patient population. There were 440 patients at the start of the trial, 10 died, 4 withdrew, and 6 were hospitalized. Thus, there were 420 patients who completed the trial. We have clarified this in paragraph 22, page 4, and then you show the paragraph where you fix it. Now, that seems pretty painstaking, but it's worth the effort to do it this way. Because what's going to happen is the same reviewers that wrote this are asked by the journal to say, did she do it? Did she respond? And you look at this beautiful long letter, being very respectful, being very professional, And you think, wow, they did everything I asked. Go ahead, accept that paper. So that's how it works. Statistical reviews, one word. Good news, most journal editors only call in a statistical reviewer if they are seriously considering your manuscript. Costs money to do a statistical reviewer. So they won't bother calling that in if they really aren't going to take your paper. But the bad news is, if you're not the statistician for your manuscript, you're going to have to call your statistician to help respond. Don't try and do it yourself if you're not a statistician. Get somebody that really understands what the statistician said and respond correctly. And this is very challenging. So doing a response to reviewers can be tedious, but it's not nearly as hard as writing the paper in the first place. It's actually pretty, like kindergarten. And it feels really good to get it done and send it back. So these are all happy people that they've sent their review back. Thank you, and I think we're ready for questions.